For most NBA fans, when you ask them about LeBron James or Michael Jordan, they have a fairly simple answer, either LeBron James or Michael Jordan. In fact, for a pretty large majority of fans, the answer they'll produce will be the former Chicago Bull Michael Jordan. But at the same time, I'm starting to see more and more people say LeBron James. LeBron James, the greatest basketball player to ever play. When you take a close look at the stats, I think the debate is much closer than one might think. It's easy to point to Jordan's undefeated finals record as an easy way out, but the argument goes much deeper than a few series that happened decades apart. Whether or not you have an opinion on the matter, it cannot be denied that LeBron James is at least close, but at the same time, I think LeBron and Jordan are different, and their differences are truly what make them so great. But I'd be lying if I said there weren't more than enough figures, highlights, or spectacular moments that would even put the Los Angeles Laker ahead of the former Chicago Bull. If you pin the stat lines of the two Hall of Famers against each other, you get no clarity towards the argument. Jordan's scoring ability is unmatched, but LeBron holds a clear edge in the assist and rebound category. Just looking at that alone is a testament to how both of these guys have established themselves as some of the greatest players of their respective generations. While Jordan has more accolades than LeBron at this point in his career, many people make the argument that LeBron James is the better all-around player. But then that brings up the conversation. What does the GOAT argument truly mean? Is it the player with the best accomplishments or the better basketball player? Are we judging careers or are we judging peaks? When it comes to all-around game, many people, they kind of shy away from Jordan simply because LeBron James is somebody that did it all and does it all so easily. He could play virtually any position on the court, not just survive but thrive. He has a high IQ, he's faster, stronger, and more athletic, possibly than Jordan ever was. And I'm not sure many people would deny that. On the other side of the argument, Jordan was the better defender and scorer. And when it comes to scoring especially, I'm not sure that LeBron has ever been close to being the scorer that Michael Jordan is. LeBron's great and an absolute monster in his own way, but the way Jordan scored the basketball, it was like art. While LeBron holds the edge in playoff assists and rebounds, Jordan's points per game is significantly higher. To add to this, Jordan was an all-NBA first-team defender 9 times in his career, while James has only earned that honor 5 times, and likely won't reach the number 9 point at any time in his career. While I'm not a major fan of the NBA voting and selection process for awards like that, I'm not sure anybody would deny Jordan's flat-out dominance and absurd defense. If you like the regular season, Jordan also has more MVP awards, but you could make a major argument that LeBron should have so many more. Remember that voting system that I told you guys about? It's questionable at best. Even if you consider career accomplishments to be the main factor here, Jordan has 6 championships that some would say were heavily aided by Hall of Fame coach Phil Jackson. But while some people use that as an argument against Jordan, you could use that same argument in his defense, because at one point, people viewed LeBron as toxic and uncoachable. LeBron James, give me a break. While some people think lay GM is a very real thing, I think LeBron James wants one thing, and that's for him and his team to be great. When it comes to LeBron James, for me, the first and most prominent story that comes to mind is his comeback against the Golden State Warriors. After going down big to start the series, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and the Draymond Green-led Warriors were arguably the best team to ever touch a basketball court. They proved this by winning more games than any team in NBA history, beating out a Michael Jordan-led Bulls team for the highest win total. When James found himself trailing by 2 games in the NBA Finals 3-1, everybody had already written out LeBron James. Not just LeBron James, but his entire team. Some people, they'll tell you LeBron James isn't clutch, LeBron James isn't this, he's not that. But when the Warriors were up 3-1, it was like something clicked in LeBron. For a lot of people, his competitiveness was the only part of his game that he had not mastered. He could never be called a lazy basketball player, but people didn't think LeBron had the killer instinct that some of the other great basketball players we've had the pleasure to watch have had. Whether or not you agree, LeBron would shut down any critics. He would go on a 3-game stretch where he would lead his team in points and assists in each outing. This would eventually lead to an 89-89 tie late in the fourth quarter of Game 7, where neither team seemed to be able to score. After a bad floater from Kyrie Irving, the Warriors had the ball on the fast break, giving them a rare opportunity for a layup close to the basket. As soon as Iggy went up, LeBron would be right there to erase the Warriors' hopes. It was one of the most iconic blocks I have ever seen. But of course, LeBron would not seal this game by himself. It took another moment from another big-time player. LeBron winning a ring in Cleveland was legendary, and it would seal his 3rd NBA championship between two teams. Oh, and did I mention LeBron James now has a 4th, bringing the Larry O'Brien trophy to his 3rd city. LeBron can go to virtually any team he wants, and that team is drastically better, if not contending, because what LeBron does is he elevates the game of everybody around him. I'm not saying he elevates their numbers. I'm saying that the team as a whole becomes a lot better. That's why when you see people talk about Kevin Love or Chris Bosh and their numbers declining, I don't hold that against LeBron James, because we saw what those teams accomplished. But at the same time, there are those fans that will tell you that LeBron's finals record of 4-6 is simply not going to cut it. But at the same time, he's made so many finals, he's made it look easy, Eastern Conference or not. He's in the West now. So what's your argument? With LeBron now having 4 wins under his belt, let's just say he gets to 6. If LeBron got to 6 championships, would you then put him above Jordan? An argument could be made that making it to the NBA Finals and losing is better than losing in the 1st or 2nd round or missing the playoffs entirely. That sounds so silly to say, but again, I have to say it. For some perspective, teams that LeBron James played for have made the playoffs 14 times, a total that matches Jordan's Bulls. That being said, LeBron missed the playoffs in his first 2 seasons in the league. The largest difference so far is that James has made the finals more consistently than Jordan, regardless of his team. In 10 of his 14 postseason appearances, James competed to bring home a championship trophy, while Jordan-led teams only competed in 6 finals series. But at the same time, you could say that's all he needed. If LeBron goes on to win 2 more championships, would the finals argument go away for good? All of that being said, Michael Jordan's 2-year hiatus from the NBA cannot be ignored. The Bulls could have realistically won 8 titles with Jordan, giving Jordan an 8-0 finals record. But hey, I guess we'll never know. Jordan has had his fair share of NBA playoff and iconic finals moments. I mean, where would I even start? I've always thought the argument for GOAT, who is the greatest of all time, was so, I don't know how to put it into words, because I don't think there can be a definitive greatest of all time. I feel like as basketball fans, we could have our own personal greatest of all time, but what makes Michael Jordan better than somebody like a Jabbar, better than a Shaquille O'Neal? If Shaq is the most dominant player to ever play, shouldn't he be the greatest of all time? Or maybe Wilt? Are we accounting for era? Are we accounting for adjusted pace, the pace of play? There's so many different things that goes into deciding who is the best basketball player to ever play. I've always thought the arguments were fun, if nothing else, but I think they're very tough. If LeBron James and Michael Jordan could go in a time machine and play 1v1 at their peaks, Would that help us decide? Would the winner of that 1v1 game then be the greatest? Am I possibly taking this whole hypothetical too far on some Rick and Morty stuff? Maybe. But you guys get my point. When it's all said and done, I mean, hey, even now, LeBron James has an absurd amount of playoff records. And don't get me wrong, Jordan has his fair share, but LeBron's catalog is ridiculous. For me, I think the players are too different to have a definitive greatest. But I'm interested in knowing who you guys feel like the greatest basketball player of all time is, and what makes a player truly the GOAT. Be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications. You will not want to miss another Get Like Coop video. And I'll catch you guys in the next one.